All right, IGN, we got more gameplay for Crimson Desert, so let's not waste no time. This is a 10-minute video. Hold on, let me turn the graphical fidelity up.
It has been almost 6 years since Crimson Desert was first revealed to the world. Across that period, developer Pearl Abyss has shown off a huge array of ideas, mechanics, and boss battles. It's frequently been cited as something of an everything game. An open-world adventure with sky islands, mechanical dragons, wrestling moves, interdimensional gateways, interacting elemental effects, and even a Spider-Man web swing. But the more that's been revealed, the more there's been the sense that Crimson Desert may be a lot of pieces in need of a whole. Finding that complete picture was my main objective when I visited Pearl Abyss's studio in Seoul for this month's IGN First. And while I can't say I found it yet, multiple hours of hands-on playtime has revealed a game that's maybe not as strange as you'd expect. In fact, Crimson Desert feels pretty straightforward.
I mean, the robots kind of threw me off, and the mechanical beasts. But I mean, hey, it's a fantasy game.
Crafted a reasonably traditional open-world adventure, made up of multiple regions peppered with towns, outposts, and castles. There's the usual collection of main and optional quests, plus classic distractions like fishing. You'd be forgiven for not realizing this though. Pearl Abyss has put almost all of its promotional efforts into showcasing boss fights. Not only that, but Crimson Desert's blend of traditional medieval fantasy with sci-fi and steampunk elements does make it seem like it's being pulled in several directions at once.
In order to destroy such a weapon, you'll need to acquire Golden Star's power core.
Golden Star.
When you're on the ground and seeing how all these elements interact though, it doesn't feel quite so alien. The continent of Pywell is perhaps less like a typical Tolkien-esque fantasy world and more akin to Dungeons & Dragons, a setting that, in recent years, was host to a Mad Max-like vehicular chase through hell. Pearl Abyss's design team explained that they wanted Pywell to reflect the variety of our reality, in which some countries feel much more futuristic than others, and note that some of Pywell's leaders may be more resistant to the advancement of technology than others, a conflict that'll be explored through various faction quests.
And I've noticed that throughout the these videos that we've been reacting to, it's like it's a fully realized and lived in world where, like, you know, like the real world, like you said, like some countries might be resistant to the advancement of technologies, or some countries might be further ahead than other countries in technology.
This means that the variety doesn't feel artificial or there simply for the sake of being wild, even when you're at the controls of a flying battle robot, which was, of course, designed by Dwarven engineers. The inclusion of these mechanized and steampunk elements grant Pearl Abyss the creative license to build quests that are a significant departure from anything we'd see in something like Skyrim. A major part of my hands-on time involved completing a quest for Marnie, a scientific genius who cloned his own consciousness to create an AI-like entity called Hall. Naturally, the results of such an experiment have gone very wrong, and Marnie's evil digital magic twin has taken command of a flying fortress that's terrorizing Pywell's skies. Defeating Hall requires the use of a power core, which Marnie reveals is hidden inside a weapon called Golden Star. And by weapon, he means a giant mechanical dragon. While they presumably have ballistic missiles in Pywell, what with the advanced engineering and all, of course the fantasy version of a nuke is flying Mechagodzilla. All that stands between me and this winged menace is a fortress filled with angry battle robots.
This is so cool. Like, they really, like, you want to talk about fantasy?
Fortress assaults will be a significant recurring objective in Crimson Desert, considering that my hands-on time involved no fewer than 3 of them. I can see why Pearl Abyss was keen to show them off, as they are a showcase for some of the project's strongest achievements. There's a great sense of atmosphere, with a legion of men from either side battling the living hell out of each other, and you're caught in the middle of it all. Fun mechanical wrinkles add texture. During one attack, I was able to fire signaling arrows that were quickly followed by a bombardment of artillery, decimating enemy soldiers and reducing buildings to splinters. In another, I was able to circumnavigate the brutal melee entirely, sneaking into the castle through a crumbling wall and using the prison as a shortcut to the boss. And in my fight through the robot fortress, a backpack-mounted EMP device allowed me to fry the circuits of both the lumbering ground threats and airborne bug bots in one giant blast. There's always something new to try, something to experiment with. But as much as these fortress assaults are a demonstration of Crimson Desert's highs, they also simultaneously reveal what could turn out to be some of its biggest blemishes. Battling masses of enemies is surprisingly tedious, feeling messy and repetitive rather than an engaging chain of frontline fights. An awkward lock-on feature pushed me away from one-on-one duels into a more freeform playstyle, but that came with the baggage of imprecise strikes and occasionally kicking the air instead of faces. Absolutely none of these issues hamper the boss battles, which was my only experience of Crimson Desert prior to this demonstration, and I was quite surprised at how different combat can feel in alternative scenarios, even when using the same moveset. It's in these smaller, less refined details where Crimson Desert threatens to lose itself.
I think they'll fix that. They'll fix that before the game is out. They better.
There are occasions where you need to pick up and manipulate objects, such as planting a banner to inspire your allies. Doing so requires standing still, turning to face the object, activating a focus mode, rapidly tapping a button to lift your target, and then finally using your telekinetic powers to manually move it. All of this is a slightly baffling annoyance when erecting flags, but it turns into a genuine frustration
you gotta
in the
bring
middle
it
of a
that
boss
far,
battle,
damn.
when you're desperately trying to swing a fallen masonry column during the precious few seconds when the boss is stunned.
They'll probably fix that too. Probably streamline that.
Thankfully, no such awkward ultra hand juggling is required to extract the power core from Golden Star.
That is so
As we
cool.
explored earlier this month in our making of feature, this is a boss fight with a unique mechanic that must be discovered in the quite literal heat of battle. The dragon's flaming breath activates an array of pylons dotted around the arena, which then dispense EMP bombs that you can fire from an arm-mounted cannon. The system creates a repeating phase loop. Golden Star circles above, belching the flames that produce the EMP bombs that will eventually bring him crashing to the
There you
ground,
go.
where you can unleash
You
a
can
barrage
wail
of
on him.
strikes until he reboots and begins the cycle anew. Pearl Abyss are keen to point out that you don't have to do this. You could, for instance, use lightning-reefed arrows to apply a stun, or simply chip away at his health bar with ranged attacks. But I feel that the real enjoyment in all of Crimson Desert's boss fights have been finding the unique mechanic built into the arena or even the enemy itself.
Yeah.
Bosses are not
Any boss, honestly, any boss in any game, I like finding out how to stun them so you can get your free hits off. Not only because it makes the battle a little bit shorter, but I just feel a better sense of accomplishment that I was able to break through their barrage of attacks, break through their guard, and I'll just get a bunch of free hits to wail on them.
the only thing in need of conquering. Suspended high above Pywall are a scattering of Abyss Islands, accessed through portals that are unlocked with mysterious Abyss artifacts. These islands appear to come in multiple guises. Last year we saw that one of them is home to an alchemist called Alastin and his Library of Providence, and my hands-on session included one that was more akin to Zelda's puzzle shrines. Its checkerboard floor was essentially a room-sized circuit board in need of a total rewiring, and finding the correct path through the grid of rotating flagstones unlocks the island's treasure trove. This is, of course, the sort of puzzle you've solved in everything from Watch Dogs to Bioshock, but I enjoyed how your equipment is integral to completing it. Your lantern illuminates the correct pathway, and your grapple hook is used to spin each tile. So while this challenge is not particularly taxing, I hope its solid foundations are the basis for more interesting puzzles that await among the clouds. When you've uncovered an Abyss Island's secrets, you can leap off the side and float down to Earth.
Okay,
where
so that's
plenty
what
more
that's about,
traditional
okay.
open world fare awaits. There are towns to visit, in which you'll find shopkeepers to trade with and bounties to take on. Out in the wilderness, there are camps to clear out and roaming barbarians to slaughter. And then there's the factions. From what I glimpse in the menus, there are dozens and
You
dozens
can
of
mount
them,
a
although some will be more important than
grizzly
others,
bear?
I'm
Like,
told.
what
A
the
few
hell?
have their own quest lines, such as
Yo,
House
this game's gonna
Wells,
be fire.
a family of nobles led by a duke who's lost his castle to rebel forces, a situation that's the catalyst for one of those aforementioned fortress assaults. Pearl Abyss was quick to clarify that these groups are not like Fallout's factions, and allegiances with them won't change the course of the story or impact Crimson Desert's ending, which is set in stone. And so I'm left wondering, what are the faction quests in aid of? When asked, Pearl Abyss's design team explained that they were there to ensure that the factions felt like significant actors in the plot, and that they offered more content for players to complete. That considered, I am a little apprehensive that at least some of Crimson Desert's offerings will be stuff to do rather than meaningful interlinked opportunities. That brings us back to my very first question. What is Crimson Desert as a whole? I know it's a vast open world with deep, fighting game-inspired combat that works better against bosses than...
Look at that shot, man. This is gonna...
That brings us back to my very first question. What is Crimson Desert as a whole? I know it's a vast...
This, shit like this is gonna kick your GPU and CPU's ass. You can't run this game without, like, a modern CPU. You're gonna need like at least a 40 series for the a 40 series for the Nvidia, you're gonna need at least a 9060. I don't think this is gonna run on anything AMD other than a 9060, or maybe a 7900 XTX or XT. But shit, you're gonna need a lot of raw GPU with a lot of like raw rasterization power. Not that AI shit. Not that I fuck with AI, but it's getting a little bit overused and misused. But that's a different topic. But you're gonna need a strong graphics card for this.
Open world with deep fighting game inspired combat that works better against bosses than it does against fodder. It's got spectacle laden quests that take you from in the mud castle assaults all the way up to aerial dogfights. And it's littered with good time distractions, from fishing and bounties to taming bears and buckling up in a battle mech. But I'm still waiting to discover the glue between all this that elevates an open world to new heights. Shadow of Mordor has the Nemesis system, which chains its enemies together into a foe-conquering big
I love
picture.
that. And I hate that Warner Brothers patented it. Like they patented it for what? To not use it? You're not coming out with another Mordor game, Shadow War, Shadow Mordor game. You're not coming out with another game like that. So like, why patent it? Why not let somebody else use it? You can rent the shit out, make some bread. These companies don't be thinking, man. Or maybe that's why I don't work for a multi-million-dollar company. I don't know. I'm just a gamer that's on the side of gamers, and that's very anti-gamer to do.
Two systems are united by a pursuit of realism and authenticity that makes its campaign feel like a life lived rather than a game played. And this year's Ghost of Yotai links every activity on its map to a new unlock on your skill tree, ensuring even little diversions are a growth opportunity. That's the stuff that's so far been missing from Crimson Desert's demonstrations, and the thing I hope will eventually be revealed when I get to play multiple consecutive hours rather than a collection of isolated quests and bosses. Without it, I still think Crimson Desert stands a solid chance at being an overall good time, but with it, it could become something much more special. For more from Crimson Desert, check out our Combat Explainer and our showcase.
3 brand. Oh yeah, we reacted to this. We reacted to this as well. Yeah, so let me do my little 1-2 real quick, then we're gonna get up out of here. So Crimson Desert, this was a hands-on by IGN, and they really went into detail about what they were able to see, what they were able to play in the game, including a boss fight like this with Golden Star. What intrigued me the most was just the variety of things you could do. There's these sky islands that you have to get to, where you meet these different characters, and you go on these different type of adventures for them and quests for them, and you can dive off of the island and skydive to the ground, and then there's all types of quests and missions you can pick up in each town. And I also like the fact that each town kind of has its own vibe to it. Some are more technologically advanced than others, and some will have different factions have different motives for what they want. You can choose which ones you can join and which ones you can go against. So this game is going to have a lot of depth to it. I can't wait to see more, and I can't wait to play it. Alright, so yeah, y'all already know the vibes. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. It's your boy JusticeXFalls, and we out. One.